Adam from Ecowise here. You probably recognize this puddle by now. It's become a bit critical. A few days ago, I came back here and you've probably already seen, I showed you the frog eggs had hatched and there were lots of tiny little tadpoles. But even though I keep adding water from the stream down in there, it's drying up. And in fact, already lots of the tadpoles are dead. It's really a kind of a bit of an emergency. So I brought back my equipment. I have my trusty stick, which has nothing to do with it, but I've got that anyway. And I've got 2 jars, bucket and net. And I'm going to do 2 things now. Because you remember in the first time I talked about when there were just the frog eggs, I was saying lots of options, you know. Try refilling this with water from the stream until the rate of evaporation, or evapotranspiration I said. And transpiration is the water that's left, that leaves from, that's taken up from the roots and is left from the leaves of the plants around here. Or evaporation is just what's, you know, turned from liquid water into gas water. It's because the puddle's getting smaller and smaller. So I did refill it, but it's really not working because it's getting warmer and warmer. Although today's a bit cold, but generally it's warming up, obviously. Now obviously when the frogs also laid their eggs here, they didn't realize that the puddle was going to disappear. And a lot of animals have different strategies for reproducing. Some take care of their young, like a lot of birds, not all birds, but a lot. Mammals like us normally have perhaps less young and take really good care of them and try making sure they survive. Frogs don't really do that, as you imagine. They lay their eggs and then they go off and do something else. And hopefully the eggs hatch into tadpoles and the tadpoles take care of themselves. If the frogs were able to take care of them, I don't know what they would do. I don't know if they would come and try filling the puddle up themselves, I don't know. But they don't. No fault of the frog. But like I said at the very first time we talked about this, at this time of year normally it will be quite wet in the spring, so a puddle like this could last. If it rains every few days, a puddle like this in a clay soil like this at the bottom of a valley could last for months, which is what you need for the tadpoles to develop and metamorphose into baby frogs, where they then can leave the purely aquatic ecosystem and go off into the woods to feed, etc. But that's not happening this year, as you can see. This water here is a bit murky because I've just added a bucket of water because before I even spoke to you, because it was really pretty desperate. So I'm going to do the following 2 things today. It's decision making time. I'm going to rescue as many tadpoles as I can in 2 different ways. One is I'm going to take lots of them and put them in the stream. And like I said to you before, and I'm still not sure what's going to happen. If they go in the stream, because it's colder and because there may be other threats to them, I mean the adult frog didn't lay the eggs in the stream, it laid in the puddle. So if I put them in the stream, they just may not survive. It might be just too cold, or they might get eaten, or they might get washed down, or the acidity might be wrong, or I don't know. But I'm going to try it because they're going to die anyway, and there's thousands and thousands of them here. So I'm going to put some from my bucket, scoop them up literally and put them in the stream, and hope that that was a good thing and that at least they survive and maybe grow up to be frogs, at least some of them. And others, because I don't know if that's going to work in the stream, I'm going to take a few others. Obviously I can't take many in these jars. I'm going to put some in another little pond area further down the valley. And I'm going to take some back to my house. Now normally I don't like to do that. I don't like to disturb creatures in the wild and put them, you know, keep them as pets. Even if you're there to study and I think it's kind of better to leave them where they are. But since they're going to die, I'm going to try that this time. What I'm going to try doing is that my friend's got an old aquarium he was going to throw away. I'm going to pick it up somehow today. It's not going to be easy with the lockdown. And set it up in my garden in an area where there's a lot of shade. And see if I can provide some kind of habitat for these organisms here. Because there's not just frog tadpoles. I've also seen a couple of baby salamanders, and I also saw a dragonfly nymph, a baby dragonfly. Dragonflies, when they're adults, you know what they're like, right? Flying around, they're big things that fly. But when they're young, most of their life actually, depends on the species, they're in the water and they're predators and they live in the aquatic ecosystem. So I'm going to try catching a few things, put them in my jar, take them back home and see if I can at least keep them alive, and hopefully, perhaps, they'll develop to be adults, and if they do, then once they're adults, I'll take them out of my aquarium and bring them back here and release them. And hopefully, some of them, maybe, will survive. I don't know. It's not so straightforward. And we'll kind of share that together, because if I manage to set up the aquarium, I'm going to get to be able to show you what that's like. And we'll see together if it works. Because one of the things about studying ecology and nature is realizing that it's incredibly complicated and that we can't reproduce it. Like some people think, oh, if we mess up this planet, doesn't matter, we'll just go in a spaceship and go and colonize another planet. Yeah, right. We don't even understand how life and the life support systems on this planet really work yet. The more we learn, the more we know we don't know. That's one of the great things about learning, is you realize how little we know, because things are so complex and so interrelated. So whether I can manage to keep these alive in an aquarium and give them the conditions they need so that not they just survive, but they metamorphose, they develop, they grow their back legs, their front legs, and they actually lose their tail and turn into baby frogs, or an adult salamander, or an adult dragonfly. I don't know, but I'll try. I'm going to try, because they're going to die otherwise. Most of them, I'm afraid, are already dead. I mean, it's sad, but that's the way it goes. Hopefully the frogs that lay these eggs would have laid them elsewhere, in areas they haven't found, and those ones will be okay. We just have to hope. But since amphibians, frogs, newts, salamanders in particular, are so endangered in our world, for various reasons, to do with climate change, to do with pollution, to do with various diseases that have come because of those factors, I'm going to try my best to save these baby tadpoles. So, Yinka's going to turn off the camera and I'm going to get busy. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, scoop some up, put them in the stream, and a few of them put in my jars. One jar to release in another stream or another area further down here, and another jar I'm going to take back to this aquarium that I'm going to try setting up today. So, good luck. Hi guys, so I'm just a couple of 100 meters downstream, and this is a confluence. There's a stream coming from behind me and another one from this side. There's a meeting of two streams. So I'm going to try putting them there. There's a little bit of a pool here, and here's a soup of all kinds of things. Tadpoles, salamanders, dragonfly nymphs, mayfly nymphs. I'm going to put them in, and hopefully they're going to survive. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is a good, it's like a little small scale example of something important, because if you're thinking how to save wild plants and animals, there's different approaches. One way is called ex situ. That means you take animals, let's say a tiger. Tigers are getting very, very rare in the wild. In fact, there are more in captivity than in the wild. There's very few left. So one approach is you could take tigers, catch them in the wild, put them in zoos and game parks, and try taking care of them and breeding them, and hope that you get everything right, and then eventually put them back where they came from. Doesn't work. Doesn't work very well. They try it with all kinds of things, because even that individual species is so complex. We don't understand social biology and all their different ecological needs and requirements, that to try keeping them like me, going to take some home now and put it in the aquarium tree if we can keep them alive and then put them back. I don't know if it's going to work. Well, I'm going to try because I want to taking care of these things. But there's another approach to conservation that makes much more sense, and that's in situ. That means if I wanted to save the animals in this stream, which is kind of what I'm doing, the frogs and stuff that I'm in that little puddle, they're actually from this kind of ecosystem. Rather than trying to save each individual animal, why not try saving the ecosystem they come from? Because, number one, ecosystems are so complicated, we don't know how to reproduce those conditions to take care of them. Like when I'm going to go home, we'll try this with my aquarium and see if I can get these things to be in a place where they A, survive, and B, have the right conditions to develop and metamorphose into adults, and I'm going to try bringing them back down here. But I don't know if I'm going to have everything right. The water temperature, the pH, the oxygen level, there's so many, the kind of food that they need, you know, how am I going to set that up? I'm not God. How am I going to set that up? I'm going to try. So the same thing with wild ecosystems. Number one is we don't know how they work, so we better take care of them, because the animals and the organisms that live there rely on those ecosystems. And so do we, by the way, for our food and our medicine and our air and everything. They're our life support systems. Number two is we don't actually know half of the organisms that are actually there. Every year they discover new things. Yesterday I was talking with you, maybe you've seen it already, about orchids. They're discovering hundreds of orchids every year that they didn't know about. So rather than trying to save each individual orchid, why not try protecting those habitats and those ecosystems that we know are so complex and so full of different kinds of biodiversity that we don't even know what it is. And that means taking care of the planet around us and leaving areas protected, conserved. Doesn't mean we can't go there. Doesn't mean that the people that have lived there for generations can't continue to live there. But it's about respecting the planet we live in and the other organisms that we share this planet with, because not only is that an ethically right thing to do, to take care of and try not harming and actually helping to prosper those organisms that we share this world, also they take care of us, and without them we're not going to do too well. And if you don't take care and you attack and you diminish and you destroy habitat and you fragment habitat, things happen. And one of the things that happen is viruses start to leave those ecosystems and come into other places. It's quite complex, that, and maybe one day we'll talk about it. If you come and see me on a trip, I'll tell you about it. But the best approach with this stream, rather than trying to taking the tadpoles back into an aquarium like a little zoo situation, take care of them, is protect this whole area. Take care of it. Because it's giving us water. It's providing habitat for all these organisms that we know of and those that we don't know of. And we don't know what potential role they'll have that can help us. Maybe there'll be foods or medicines or resources we need. There's so many medicines that they're getting from plants. So many medicines that they're getting from amphibians, frogs. So many medicines that they're getting from organisms that live in the sea, that potentially help cure people from various disorders in the future. So rather than destroy those, that's like a wealth of materials that we can use, but more important from my perspective than using it is we have to respect them, because they live and they share this planet with us, and they're part of our community and our extended family. So how do you treat your family? Okay, sometimes you have fallouts and you have difficulties, especially when you're in lockdown, but you try taking care of each other and making each other as happy as you can. And if there's problems, you try helping solve problems. And that's how we should be treating the world in general. Especially these rare, special ecosystems that are so valuable, like streams, coral reefs, lakes, especially aquatians, but all of them. You know, we should be taking care of our world because it makes us who we are.